Hi, my name is Joe Chambers, and I pastor Mountain Heights Baptist Church in Buena Vista, Colorado. And I'm delighted to be with you in these sessions as we discuss soul care. Now, I'm coming to you from my woodshed. Now, I've been in the woodshed many times in my life, sometimes as a little boy, on a few occasions with my wife. My wife sent me out here, and I've been in the divine woodshed. And who hasn't been in the divine woodshed? What I've come to know about the woodshed, though, is that for me, it's become a sanctuary, or as the Celts would say, a thin place, a place where heaven and earth come together. This is a place where I come often very early in the morning and sit on this stump and look out towards the east and watch the sun come up. This is a place that I come and read the scriptures, do my Bible study and my prayer time, and then just listen to the sound of the morning waking up. The birds singing, the dogs barking. It's become a very special place for me. And so from this place of sacredness, I'd like to talk with you about soul care. And one of the most important tenets of soul care is having a pastor. I believe every pastor needs a pastor. In fact, a pastor without a pastor is a pastor trying to be a Messiah. We all need someone who will shepherd our hearts. We need someone who will ask us good questions. We need someone who will get underneath everything else and care for our souls. When I think of someone like that, I can't help but think of that old flannel graph story of Jonathan and David. Do you remember that place in 1 Samuel 18, verse 3, where the scripture says that Jonathan made a covenant with David because he loved him as his own soul? I love that. Eugene Peterson, commenting on that, said this: Jonathan's love entered David's heart in a way that Saul's hatred never could. I'm not sure you and I experience much hatred these days, but we are misunderstood a lot. We do receive our fair share of unwarranted criticism. And so I want someone who can put love in there deeper down than the criticisms that I feel from my world can go. And that comes from a friend or a pastor, a soul friend. The Gaelics call this anam cara. We need someone who can really ask us good questions. When a friend can do that, they are more precious than gold. In fact, I'm not sure that a person can be called rich who has no friend. And I'm not sure a person can be called poor when they have a soul friend. Now, to me, a soul friend is different than the friends that I have on Facebook. Facebook tells me I have around 1,500 friends. That's a fluctuating number as I get unfriended and unfollowed all the time. A soul friend is someone that maybe you only have 2 or 3 of these in your entire life. This is a person that you trust with your heart. This is a person that you would call at 2 o'clock in the morning when you can't think of who else to call. Do you have somebody like that? Now, there are some characteristics of a soul friend or a pastor that I would encourage you to consider if you're interested in having this kind of care. One of those is, does this person, after I've prayed that God would reveal to me who this soul friend, this anam cara, this pastor might be, does this person have an empathetic heart? Do they actually show that they care? Do they express it on their face? Do they give me verbal affirmation that they really care for my heart? I need an empathetic witness to what God is doing in my life, and that's what a pastor can do. I also want to know, are they good listeners? Now, this is incredibly rare for pastors. We are often not very good listeners. But I want to find someone who is a good listener, not just listening to me long enough so that they can give me a piece of advice or some scripture to go meditate on or some sort of platitude or for perhaps even to tell me one of the stories of their life. No, a spiritual friend, a true pastor, is a pastor who listens to what you're saying, to what you're not saying, to what you wish you could say. A true pastor just is a good listener. Another characteristic is this. Do they have a non-anxious presence about them? A non-anxious presence. John O'Donohue wrote a poem called For One Who is Exhausted, and there's a line in that poem that says this: steer clear of those vexed in spirit. I know pastors that are vexed in spirit, and you do too. Those are probably not candidates to be my soul friend, my pastor. I need a non-anxious presence. I also need to make sure that this pastor or this soul friend honors confidentiality, because I need someone that I can share the deepest, darkest places of my heart with, where no one else goes, down deep where the knobs are. I need somebody like that. Do you have someone like that? I think they need to be someone that's in a close proximity to you geographically, if at all possible. I'm not talking about a busy pastor that's on somebody else's board, or I need someone that I can have a face-to-face, close conversation with. Now, these days, that might include a Zoom call or some other digital way, but I need to look them in the eye. They need to see the expression on my face. They need to know my countenance, and I need to know theirs. Do you have someone like that? I hope that you do. It wasn't too long ago that I was experiencing some dryness in my own spiritual life, and I just was running a low-grade kind of fever of depression, and I needed someone to talk to. As a pastor, you know as well as I do that sometimes there are people who pull life out of you. I want someone who can put life back into me. And so I thought of my pastor. So I called him up and asked him if I could come see him. One of the things I love about my pastor is that he makes me aware of the presence of God. He helps me to pay attention to God. He is a life-giving friend. He never pulls from me. He always puts inside of me. And I'm not talking about a pat on the back or some affirmation. I'm talking about spiritual sustenance that goes deep into my soul. I live in a high mountain valley, and I was climbing up out of the valley over Trout Creek Pass, and it drops down into a place that you might have heard of called South Park. South Park is a huge mountain valley. Not a tree for miles and miles, just sagebrush and a few antelope here and there. And as I was driving across that great expanse towards having a lunch meeting with my pastor, I was feeling all of those emotions I was speaking to you about a moment ago. And a song came on the radio that struck me. And I don't know if it was just where I was, the large Colorado sky, my own melancholy. I don't know exactly what it was, but it was a U2 song. And this song said this. The lyrics go like this: tough. You think you've got the stuff. You're telling me and anyone you're hard enough. You don't have to put up a fight. You don't always have to be right. Let me take some of the punches for you tonight. Listen to me now. I need to let you know. You don't have to go it alone. I'm not going to lie. Driving across that big expanse, that song, I started singing those songs. I was anticipating being with my pastor friend who shepherds my soul, and tears began to well up in my eyes, and my foot got a little heavier on the speedometer, on the gas pedal. I had to back it off a little bit because I was wanting to be with my friend. When I got there, we had our lunch, and we talked. And you know what? I don't remember anything he said. I don't remember any advice he gave. I don't remember anything except the non-anxious presence of my pastor. Every pastor needs a pastor. When I drove home, I felt buoyed. I felt strengthened. I felt like my soul had found sustenance that this world knows nothing of. Every pastor needs a shepherd for their soul. That's soul care. May you find such a person.